The problem with most investors is they're not patient. They want it now. It's not the way it works.
Not often do you get to meet someone who has been investing in real estate their whole life. From investing, flipping, wholesaling, selling real estate as an agent, now managing properties for other people, you name it, he has done it. I'm super happy he said yes to this interview so he can share the wisdom with us that we can all apply to our investing journey. Because as he says,
Because what's life? Life is financial freedom.
and I strongly agree with that. I'm a big fan of following the models. Every time somebody is really successful, I shut up and listen. And that's what I did here. Alright guys, so here we are with Brett. He's a real estate investor and he also has a management company. So when did you start investing in real estate and how long have you been in the business?
I started, I owned a 1-bedroom, 1-bath with my wife at the time, and she was getting upset that we wanted a 1-bedroom, 1-bath. So I said, okay, let's go look for condos, right? This was in Arizona.
Yeah.
And so I went to Mesa, Arizona. There's a 3-bedroom, 1-bath. I didn't really want to live there because it wasn't big enough room for me to do what I wanted to do. But that's when I decided to get into the rental business. And so I bought that particular unit and started.
How long ago was that?
Bought that in 1985.
And how old are you now?
62.
62, okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So you were like 20 something? 30?
20
Nice.
or so.
And did you just started buying after that? Or how long did it take for you to get to, let's say, like 5 to 10 doors?
Probably within 5 years.
Okay. So that was your goal?
Yeah, because as I started doing it back then, you could go into the bank and they would finance that for you. So they were nothing. They were cheap. So, but we still had to go through them, remodel them, rent them. Then I learned the whole process. That's how I started learning the process of getting rentals. So the one thing I did do that was wrong is I listened to somebody that told me to quit buying real estate, and I shouldn't have, but I did. So I stopped buying around 1990. And then I waited till 1999. But 1999, I did keep a fourplex over in Mesa that I purchased along the way. And there was a gentleman sitting there, and I said, hey, I just actually walked up to him, and I said, hey, look, do you want to do a flip? And he said, yeah, let's do it. I had no idea, never read any books, never took any courses, nothing. Went out and had my realtor buy a house. As I was doing that, we went through the rehab and all that, put it up for sale. The realtor didn't really want to do open houses, so I did them. Well, long story short, I sold it, made $2,200 net.
Wow.
It wasn't a lot, but I was learned. The education was worth every dime. Because right after that, I got my real estate license. So then I started buying them myself through real estate. So my first one was on Orange in Phoenix, Arizona. And as I was doing that, literally, I bought the house. We had it redone. And I would go over every Saturday, mow the lawn, take a shower, do an open house Saturday and Sunday. So that was my first house. Now, I ran into a little problem there because there was roaches in between this is a good area, behind the kitchen cabinets. So I had to take it off the market for 3 weeks, which, at that time I needed to make the money. So we got that cleaned up and that sold. In fact, it was kind of funny because the person that bought it, when they were signing their final documents on the kitchen counter there's actually a roach walk over.
Really?
But anyway, we got that sold, and I went to the next one. And then I'm like, well, I'm not going anywhere. I'm doing okay, but I'm not doing what I want to do. So again, I've not read any books. I'm not taking any courses, nothing. And so I ran an ad in the paper because the internet wasn't real fluid, And a guy from Canada called me. I won't say his name, but he called me and approved me to get a loan. He changed my life. And so I get Ross, was his name, and he lived in Victoria Islands. So he came and I bought my first one to do the private money. It was 18%. He signed a quick deed over. That was it. That's what he did in business. And so he came and said, hey, I bought my first one. And he said, hey, my son, he wants to buy that because they were low on properties at the time and they were flippers too. And so I said, well, I don't want to sell it because, I was going to make money on that. So he says, well, he said the magic words, what do you want? And so that's when I started adding money to my commission.
Yeah.
and then paid the second one. It was legal because of the ER agreement and all that. So that created a whole new business for me. So I started getting a bunch of investors, and we did about 400 flips in Arizona, and we did. And at one time I had 44 listings. So because what we did is we gave them a good deal on the listing and the purchase, so we got the whole deal. And so that's where I started, and then we got going, and then of course 08 hits, and real estate, especially in Arizona, went down. All my investors got out, but I had a few properties left, and I still have one of them that's up for sale that I've had for 19 years. But I never went bankrupt or anything like that. But I did lose a lot of money, a lot. But I just moved on, and then I said, well, I got to reinvent this. I got to look at, what would be more beneficial for me and my clients. So I went to Lansing, I went to Cincinnati, I went to Columbus, I went to Cleveland, and I went to Detroit and Indianapolis. So those 5 places I went. And when I went over there, Indianapolis, I couldn't make much sense. So the rents were everywhere. And then Cincinnati and Cleveland were the 5. I didn't like the landlord-tenant laws. That's important when you're investing, by the way. You better know landlord-tenant laws in that state, because that could be a big factor on how much money you're going to make. So I didn't like Michigan's at all. So Ohio is a pretty pro-landlord state, 4 to 6 weeks to evict. So Cincinnati and Cleveland had about the same rental market, but Cleveland's inventory, the assets were better, I thought. So I started here. And so I just started a construction company here, so I didn't really get my license yet. And we were doing about 15, 20 houses a month. So we grew that, and I just didn't like the way that was going, because I had all these separate companies that were like a different property management, other realtors. So I kind of shut that down. And so I'm going to get my license, and that's what I did. So today, fast forward 7, 8 years, and now I have my new business, which does very well. And what we do is we purchase A, B areas only. We stay in good areas, and people don't understand that, because I think a lot of investors make it complicated. What do I mean by that? Well, I've got to have a multiplex. I've got to have it. So I'll ask you a question real quick, just to see, what you think. Well, what's the difference? Why would you not? Why would you? What's some of the issues with like a duplex? Duplex, okay. Triplexes on a mountain. What would you think would be a problem for those?
I don't know. So the thing is, in my opinion, at least, I'm not sure if this is right or wrong, but people maybe don't agree, because you have 3 families living in the same building, and they're going to be calling you, hey, Brad, this guy parked on my driveway, or they have dirty laundry in the basement and stuff like that. So that's one thing that would stop me from investing in those kind of properties. What do you think?
That's a good answer, but the thing I really is transitional housing for them. So they're not going to stay in the house as long. Your rents are lower, right? So, so you're making, you're probably making $700, $800, $900 a month.
Yeah.
They're going to tear those places up every year. You're going to have to go back in and rehab them, because it's So
I wasn't thinking about that. Yes, you're right. Yeah.
People look at the purchase and the rehab, and they don't look at the rest of it.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Because you got to really look at that. So I keep it really simple.
So you just buy like single
houses.
Okay.
And why do I do that? Because there's a lot more people buying houses and want to live in houses. And our average tenant stays 24 to 28 months.
Okay.
And the rehab.
What's the longest one you had?
Right now, we got one that's been in there for actually 13 years.
13 years? And what do you do about the rent? Do you increase?
Yeah, we increase. So, yeah, that's important. You don't increase them as much as the market, because you don't want them moving out, but you keep moving up on it. So, we just moved one up that started at $1,350 a month. Now it's at $1,700. So you want to do that for sure. And, you work with the tenants with that, right? And at the end of the day, you have to really look at your rehab too. So if you stay in the AB areas, and all these rents are anywhere from $1,450 to $2,200. Okay, so those renters aren't going to tear places up. They just aren't, because that's their home. And so when they leave, we rarely have anything that we have to do to the house. We're usually around $3,000-$4,000 tops. And one just moved out Mayfield Heights. And we didn't have to do anything. They cleaned it up, and they want their money back. And the other good thing is we only have cash renters, meaning that we really like people who have jobs, because we don't want to, they don't want evictions on their record. So they're way more successful with those.
So I mean, that's a good point, and it's interesting because people always tell me, hey, George, I want to buy a double A, or I want to buy a triplex or eightplex even, so I can leverage myself out, so I have to do less work. And
Totally false.
yeah.
So what is an eightplex in a single family? If you put them side by side, you got 8 heaters in this one. You got 1 in this one. You got 8 water heaters in this one. You got 1 in this one. You got 8 electrical box. You get everything. Believe me, I run an eightplex for a guy that, he's a good friend of mine, so I do it. But that one's always got problems. Always got people moving out. Always. And it's just, it's and he even told me that, the more complicated you make it, the worse, to me, it's not very enjoyable if you do that. My clients, I always tell them, I say, buy the houses, let me do the rest, kick back, smoke cigars, and collect your
Perfect. Yeah.
your checks. So all our stuff, our houses look old, and I'll show you the numbers in a minute, but you just want to purchase with some equity. So you want to do a blended rate. If you say some people come in, they want to flip, or some people want to rent, I do the blended. So we run them for 3 years and we sell them sometimes if you want it. But I recommend 3 years at least. And we're doing 23% on that.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's really good. It's really good. But again, it's a very good return, and they're solid investments, and we just don't have that much trouble with them.
Yeah.
And we also have a home warranty that they can buy if they do that. Key Realty has a special realty. It's $100 deductible, but I use my vendors. But they let me buy the warranty. They cover the warranty. So it really helps the investors understand that, control costs. The other thing in Cleveland that people need to understand is all these cities have different rules. Point of sale, you want to stay out of those areas pretty much, especially the University, Shaker, Cleveland Heights, all those are Euclid. And there's some other ones that, because they'll come in your house every year and they'll give you a bunch of stuff you got to fix. So you really can't control costs. When I stay in the other areas that don't have so much, they have some point of sale, maybe you got still pull permits and all that. And the other thing too, when you're with a bigger company and you're with somebody who's buying investment real estate with you, look at their resume. Nobody ever looks at resume. If you notice on Facebook, everybody talks about, well, I bought this. This is our new buy. This is what we're going to do. You never hear anything about it again. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Because it's probably a disaster. I saw a guy called me one time. He bought a fourplex, and it was in an area. I said, "You're not going to be successful." And he didn't believe me. He called me and he lost a tenant every month because what they do is they put tenants in these things and show the cash flow, but they don't need background credit check. They know they're probably they quit making payments and they leave.
So how do you do background checks for people?
Zillow has that. You just
you think that's really important? Do you have any criteria regarding credit scores?
Oh, no, look, it's on the credit, so you don't want to see evictions, utility, or car payments.
Okay.
So, for example, they had a Strongsville house that was up for rent, and it came back and they had a drug charge. So I called that particular tenant and I asked them, what was the situation there? The girl they'd been on heroin, addicted, and they'd only been off heroin for 6 months. But they were, she said, but I'm in a group. Well, that's probably not the best tenant.
How many properties do you manage now?
About 180.
180.
And we're not the biggest, but we are the best because we're 99.5% of our people make money. So we're very, very careful. When it comes down to property management, that's the most important part of investing. Nobody ever looks at that. So they try and nitpick all these little things. You need to look at the whole picture and see, hey, what's working and who's not. So if you have a property management out here by themselves, they got to make a certain amount of money, right? With us, I purchase, I rehab, I lease, I have my own management, and I sell. So I have all the stuff under one roof, so I don't have to charge as much in property management. So that's a benefit for my clients.
And so how many people do you have working for you?
I got 3 full-time crews, and then on the rehab, and then I got 6 or 7 that work for us outside of that.
Okay.
We keep a tight ship, we have attorneys that you can call. We have, we have CPAs. We have all the different stuff that you can show you how to set up LLCs yourself. It's important to do all that, especially, in Cleveland, you can have lead base.
Yeah.
Certification. So we know how to do that because if you're just a regular investor and you go and just get someone to do a lead base and they turn it's got lead base, And you don't want that because the city's going to be all over you. So we have them pre-screened, and then we go back and fix them, and they come back out to us, and then we'll clean.
Nice. Yeah. So do you want to show some of the
Yeah,
numbers?
basically, when I look at a house, I look at a couple things. So when you're looking at, when you're looking at a house, you always want to make sure what you're looking at. So there's a lot of people out there that, when you're checking rents or anything like that, you always want to, basically Zillow's good for that. And you want to look who's listing it. Because if you don't, so for example, if an owner's listing it, it's probably going to be cheaper. So basically what you want to do on this is you want to make sure that, when you're looking at rents, to get the rents, you want to be, Zillow's the best place. I'm not a big Zillow fan, but it's the best place. So when you look at that, you want to look at who's listing it. Is it an owner? Is it a property manager? Is it a realtor? And you always notice that the realtors always are having more money on usually on the rents.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the way it works. So that's the rents I take. I want to get the highest. So your rent's important. And the other thing too, how are they setting it up? There's a special way I do it. I won't say this on video, but there's ways that you make sure that things get rent, and we do that. So it's a little bit of work, So our average, because when you're buying them, time is money. So the average days for us to rent a house is about 18 days, and they're full price. We don't negotiate, so they can take care of because they're nice properties. So what we do is say we have a $150,000 house, and that's all in rehab, everything. Okay, and so we want to see. So what I want to do on this is, so I want to see on 1,500. I'm going to want to see probably around 1,600 to 1,700, and then you're going to want your net after taxes, insurance, and property management is going to be around 1,200. Okay. So $1,200 is a big thing because, you can times that by 12. I don't know what that gets. It's 14,400, right?
Yeah.
So that's 14,400. So 14,400, but that's important to get all that you can, because people put vacancy rates of about 5 to 6%. Well, we're nowhere near that. Well, 1% maybe. So anytime something goes empty, we have it back on the market usually within 1 to 2 weeks. We just don't waste any time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'll get it rented. Once we rent them, then we're going to do a background credit check real strict. We're going to call their employer. We're going to call their last employer or landlord. We're going to do all that and make sure that all that's taken care of. But these are AV areas only.
AV, okay.
So like you live in Westlake, so we have one over in Westlake, and I've actually never met this guy. He called me out of California. He's a teacher. He wanted to buy this one particular house on Woodway. You know where Woodway is?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so he bought a house for $265,000. Okay, we didn't have to do anything to it. He wanted it. I thought, wow, this guy just, I didn't recommend that. I thought maybe he was, he had some psychological problems. But let's look at the numbers. So we rented that for $2,200 a month. Okay, now we've rented that for 3.5 years.
Mm-hmm.
How much do you think we deposited in his bank account? This is net after all the repairs, taxes, insurance.
How much a year? That's like
that's $24,000.
24,000. Yeah.
It's 20. Yeah, we're 25.
Yeah.
So we put in his account over $60,000. Okay. All right. Yeah. So 2,000. And then what it was worth today? $325.
Okay.
So he's got $60,000 equity. $60,000. He's made 50% of what he bought it for. He paid cash.
So I have a question for you. Like, I'm asking for myself,
Sure.
and I was debating with other people, realtors as well. Does it make sense to pay off your properties, or does it make more sense to leverage the debt and to buy as many as you can?
Well, that's a great question, because you got to do both.
Okay.
So when you're first starting out and you want to buy a house, leverage it. That's fine.
Yeah.
But your thing with this is you're going to sell it. So the problem after you rent, right, for 3 years. I like to go 3 years. Now the problem with most investors is they're not patient. They want it now. It's not the way it works if you want to do it right. Because when you get down to, people start buying bad stuff, and then they end up with bad, they get in a hurry, as I told you before, all the time our investors do is buy these houses, kick back, smoke cigars, and they're going to. But at the end of the day, you start building your equity. So what's that done for me? I've got a house in Chandler, Arizona I've had for 9 years or 19 years. I got about 300,000 equity, but I own 10 houses. I got 5 of them paid off. They don't owe anything. So you want to set that up, and then I show you ways to protect yourself because people will pay it off. Some won't see you, but I know there's ways that you can take care of stuff that no one will ever, they won't get it. So
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, you want to take your time. So you pick up, 3 or 4 houses, just hold on to them till the equity goes, and then sell them. Take that equity, reinvest it within 10, 15 years, maybe 20 tops. You're gonna be doing well because to make a living in Cleveland anyway, all you need is 10 houses. That's it.
Yeah.
You're gonna net 10 houses. You're gonna net somewhere around. You're gonna do a little right at $100,000 a year. That's good money.
It is, yeah.
And that's stuff that you can do now. If you need the money, so what I do too, is before I sell them, a year before I sell them, I just refinance them. Because then you get all the equity tax-free, because it's a loan. Then you sell it and there's not so much capital gains.
Mm.
And the other way to do it too, if you want, and you were talking about, that's what I would do, a little quicker.
Yeah.
I would buy houses to live in, or duplexes or whatever you want. I would live in there 2 years. And I would sell them. You know why I do that?
Not to pay capital gain, right? Yeah.
That really builds your income.
So what if you just move out and rent the place out?
Why don't you want to do that? You need cash. I'm talking.
Oh, okay.
Starting out, you got to build your cash.
Okay.
Once you start building your cash, then a lot of other things go.
What if you do cash out refinance?
You could do that. I just wouldn't recommend it.
Okay.
Tax free.
Mm.
Anyway, so just sell it. Just be a little mobile.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? If you can, but if you have to, that's another way.
Yeah.
The other thing too that I like is keep just when you look, you can also do once you get cash, then you can do lending, you can do lease options, you can do a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? So take my house in Arizona. Okay, so right now it's up for $529,000. Okay, Arizona's not cheap, but I'm not going to sell it on a lease option. So someone's got to put down $115,000 to finance it. So I'm going to get that $115,000. That's a lot of the equity, and I'm going to keep this asset. And if these guys don't close out on their lease option, I'm just going to get it back.
Why would somebody do that? Why would somebody lease a house?
Lease option.
Lease option.
So the way it works is this is the lease, okay? And they buy an option, which is time, or a certain price. So they're saying, well, they're going to buy $529,000. I'm going to give them 5 years to exercise this option. So they're locked in at that price.
Mm-hmm.
They can sell that. They can buy it, whatever they want to do. So they're saying 5 years, the price goes to $600,000. They could sell a house for $600 and only owe 100 months. They only owe $400,000.
Mm.
You see how that works? You ever heard of that?
This is like more in depth.
Yeah, I really talking about. But if you're just beginning, you just want to start buying houses like you said, and just be patient and buy good houses. Don't buy cheap houses that are in areas. You want to buy houses that people want to live in, not that they have to.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, because it's the way I look at it was I had somebody showing apartments in different areas, and there was such a vast difference in stuff that when I showed them that, they went with the good one. And but multiplexes are trouble. Houses are easy.
What about commercial, like apartments, like 20, 30, 40 units?
I've run. They're just hard. Unless you got gobs of money.
Yeah.
Now, if you're buying them in Toronto or you're buying them in a place where they're like brand new, you build them like Airbnb stuff or whatever, different story. But I would just stay in the game of homes because you can get pretty wealthy pretty faster and more because you're going to work your job, you got other stuff going on. You don't want to have to worry. when you get through life, how much stress do you have? Anxiety is high right now. And I know people that have the multiplexes, their anxiety is super rough. Houses, not so much. I had a guy out of Illinois who bought 3 properties from me. This was 3 years ago, and we just removed this first tenant, but we raised the rent a lot. So when you're looking at that stuff, you want to do that. And then on his one property, we actually had somebody come in, and they wanted to rent the property, but they had an eviction. You don't ever let anybody in with an eviction. It was $1,700 a month. The property was still in Lakewood. And when the guy, we said, we can't let you in. So 2 hours went by, and he called me back. He says, I wonder if I pay the year in advance plus the deposit. I said, you're in. So, we had 2 people do that. So we're very strict. But if somebody's going to pay you cash, and he's been in there, he's on his 3rd year.
Nice.
So that's kind of what you do. Just be patient. But houses, what's the other great thing about houses? Everybody wants them. Not just, these apartments or multiplex. Not everybody wants them. You have more demand for houses. So the equities,
they're more liquid as well.
they're very liquid.
Yeah, that's an incredible smart way to look at investing.
Because everybody wants to they want to go from here to here really quick. Or partners, they want to get in with partners with apartments. When you start chipping all that stuff up, you're not making much. You know what I'm saying? And if you're not running, with houses, you're running your own show.
Yeah.
So to speak. But with me, when I give investors, is they don't have to take any courses or anything. I just do it. They can come down, have a good time, or whatever they want to do. They'll learn it's better off instead of paying 60. I know. I was talking to some people this week in California that bought, paid them $100,000 for the course. That's crazy.
Yeah, there is a free course right here.
Yeah. I can teach you, buy a house.
Yeah.
That's where I learn. I learn on the streets.
Yeah.
I can tell you many stories, and I have a book coming out about myself.
No way.
But it's just,
Right.
it's fun.
Yeah.
But being a realtor, as you know,
Yeah.
it's not easy.
Nah.
Everybody thinks investing is not easy if you don't have the right people around. All these gurus that, and I've sat with a lot of them, sit there and say, hey, if you take my course, by the time you get the course, it's outdated. Everything changes all the time with investment real estate.
Yeah.
For example, do you get an inspection or don't you? Well, that's a question. And if you do get an inspection, how do you write that up so they don't leave you?
Yeah.
Everybody wants it as is. Well, how do you write up a contract as is, but inspect it? There's a way to do that.
No.
Having all this stuff together and knowing all that stuff keeps everybody safe and get you good properties, because people go wholesale. Well, how's wholesale work? Wholesale.
Yeah.
Wholesale kind of, so basically someone's got a house here. They come up and they say, hey, you want to buy this? So they don't actually own the house. The other problem is they're not licensed. They don't have, so they say, I'll give you an example. The guy was buying an apartment complex, which I didn't recommend. It was a 97 unit. Okay. So they said it was this part of the construction was $885,000. Okay. And so I went over. I said, well, that doesn't work. I said, I'm sure it's way more than that, because there's other stuff. So he wanted to hire somebody that could go over there and do an actual thing. It was actually $1,885,000. Because again, it was a wholesale deal. And believe me, wholesale deals, they didn't buy the cheapest crap that you can buy and then mark it up.
I know this, yeah.
I know a guy who makes almost $50,000-$60,000 a year doing that. A month,
A month, yeah.
And it's a ripple. So, like I said, you just want to get somebody that's going to get you good real estate. I don't make a ton of money on every property, but I make a little on a lot. So, in 2019, we were EXP. I did more transactions in the state of Ohio than anything. I have a platinum album. So it's just that you have to really, know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And this is all I do. I'll do some listings and stuff, but I don't do retail buys. It's just, all this is important. how to market them and how to keep them rented and get them rented. So that's pretty much it. I mean, you just got to be patient. You got to buy houses.
So thank you so much for explaining everything on the whiteboard.
Yeah, no worries.
And let me ask you this. You started investing when you were 20 something. What would you do differently?
Well, what I would do is hang on to them.
Okay.
You hang on to them because, I see people who did. I know a couple guys that did. They own a lot, but they don't do, they're done. So there's always cash. You can refinance. You can pick up your rent or whatever. But when you start, you can't do that. But if you got patience, like how old are you?
26.
Well, then you got time. Buy and hold, buy and hold, buy and hold, and keep them. Because when you're my age, you'll be sitting pretty, really pretty. Because what's life? Life is financial freedom, and the only way to get it is if you're getting finances.
Yeah.
So people want financial freedom, and they sit around daydream about it instead of do something about it. But real estate's about the only thing that you can do unless unless you can be in Congress and get insider trading.
Yeah.
Other than that, you can't get it, right? So you just have to understand that real estate's a really good way to do it.
Yeah. Awesome. So how can people get in touch with you? You also have a YouTube channel. You're helping people invest in our market, which is Cleveland, and most of your clients, you say, are from out of state, right?
Yes.
So how can people get in touch with you?
My number is 216-703-5740. You can also get me at clevelandincomerealestate.com. clevelandincomerealestate.com.
And a YouTube channel you have, right?
Yeah, Brett's Realty Group, BRETTS Realty Group. Yeah, all together.
All right.
I have 3,500 videos in there. Watch them. They're fun.
Yeah, I watched some of your videos. They're amazing, and I'm going to learn from you.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you.
And guys, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. Have a good day.